It's July 4th, 2016, and the basketball world is about to change forever.
And if you're just with us, a tectonic player shift in the league.
It's Golden State for Kevin Durant.
Well, I'm viewing it as the weakest move I've ever seen from a superstar. Plain and simple. That's just how I look at it.
I lost respect for him.
We live in this superhero comic book world where either you're a villain or you're a superhero. I try not to worry about that and sit down and focus on what I wanted as a player and as a person.
He signed with the Warriors! Why would he do that? He already had a good-ass team! That's like 6 superstars on one team! They the Justice League!
For those of you who've been watching the league for at least a decade, that montage probably felt like an unnecessary reminder of the PTSD you're finally starting to shake. And for the rest of you, just trust us. No edit could ever do the horrors justice. When Kevin Durant joined the Warriors, whatever suspense the NBA season had left evaporated almost instantly. 28 teams became one-dimensional plot devices, while LeBron and company did everything they could to stand in the way of inevitability. It was 2 years of regular seasons that felt like formalities, playoff brackets you could pencil in by August, finals outcomes that even casual fans could see coming from a mile away. We didn't know it at the time, but that was the final crescendo of the dynasty era, because after that level of imbalance, after the league stretched dominance to its absolute breaking point, the NBA started drifting in a new direction. Talent spread out, big threes quietly faded, super teams disappeared, and a new CBA locked the league into an era of parity. Since 2018, we've had 7 different champions in 7 seasons. At first, that felt like a breath of fresh air, a long overdue injection of novelty. But now, for some fans, that newness is collapsing into the chaos it's built on top of, opening message boards, podcasts, and group chats to a question that would have sounded insane a decade ago. Do we miss the dynasties we once hated? Deconstructive conversations like this one are riddled with subjectivity and personal bias. So before we get into it, let's clear the air. Our team at Half Past Noon is made up of 2 people in their mid-20s. We grew up on Kobe Bryant's Lakers, went through middle school with the Big 3 Heat, and watched Cleveland and Golden State battle for league-wide supremacy as teenagers. Every chapter of the NBA that formed our love of the game was headlined by a juggernaut or two who were clearly a step above every other competitor from the opening tip-off. But early on, we didn't think about whether or not the game was uneven. We just relished the opportunity to watch legends leave their marks on the history of the league. Moments like Kevin Garnett screaming into the mic as Boston hung their latest banner, or Kobe standing on top of the scorers table as the celebration began around him. They felt like narrative peaks, freeze frames that the greats had forged with their own hands. Besides, every once in a while, a team like Dirk's old man Mavs or the going to work Pistons would steal the spotlight away from the frontrunners. And those unexpected interruptions were enough to keep the status quo from becoming too monotonous. There was a structure to everything. The favorites were usually favorites for a reason, and upsets were possible, just uncommon. But as we already mentioned, that balance collapsed as soon as the most natural scorer in the history of basketball joined the 73-win Warriors. We won't get into the competitive ethics conversation that's often linked to that decision. Instead, we want to focus on the effects it had on the perception of that season. Let's go back to a memory the city of Houston would love to forget. The infamous 2018 Western Conference Finals. Mike D'Antoni's dual-engine system was ascending to new heights. James Harden was at the peak of his powers. Chris Paul was reminding the basketball world what the point guard could do, and the cast of role players around them were perfectly suited to complement their individual games. Based off what they did in the regular season, Houston had a chance to dethrone the Dubs and prevent the repeat everyone was dreading. Unfortunately, CP3's hamstring went out at the worst moment, and then Houston missed an unfathomable 27 consecutive threes against the team who killed the phrase "live by the three, die by the three." It was poetic cruelty. Odds are you already know that story, and now that enough time has passed, it's a fascinating series to look back on and reanalyze. But try and put yourself back in 2018 for a second. Remember the sounds of the broadcast, the commercials of the era, every sensory detail you can recall, and the feelings of dissatisfaction will come flooding back. At the time, all the intricate details seemed insignificant. No one was talking about an all-time great series or a historic snapshot. It felt like we just watched a poorly written fake out, even though we knew the Rockets brought the series to 7 games, even though they were one healthy star away from potentially changing the outcome. When the dust settled and the series came to an end, there was a prevailing sense that no other outcome was actually possible. The Warriors were so good they had plot armor. Nothing anyone else did mattered, not against that basketball Death Star. In a matter of weeks, the same confetti was falling after Kevin Durant hit the same exact hezzy pull-up. For the rest of the summer, everyone complained about the competitive stagnation that was flattening the NBA season into one drawn-out soap opera. Maybe the right squad would challenge Golden State, and the Dubs would have to dig deep to find some way through, but in the end, they'd do it. Steph would make some impossible shots, Clay would go on a heater, and KD would deliver the dagger right at the final moment. Those old titans that ruled the league for years at a time started looking preordained too. Miami's reign in South Beach wasn't surprising. LA's dominance was spelled out by their roster before the games even started. All of a sudden, thanks to an announcement on Independence Day, NBA fans everywhere started wondering if they were stuck in a Truman Show nightmare. In that moment, we all wanted something to change, and in the next few years, it did. Toronto Thanos snapped the league into parity with an upset win over a hobbled Warriors team, and 6 years later, and one reformed salary cap, and we're here. It's what we always wanted, a wide open landscape filled with balanced competitors, unpredictable outcomes, and a crown that keeps changing hands. For the first 5 years, everyone loved it. Each year, a handful of fan bases entered the season with legitimate title hopes, as pundits got to break down championship races that were more nuanced and unpredictable than anything we could have imagined. All things considered, we should be enjoying a basketball utopia that we helped create. Unfortunately, the grass is only that green until you're actually on the other side. Normally, we dismiss the complaints about the lack of continuity today as bad faith whining. Another example of people complaining simply because complaining is fun, but we sat with the critiques for a while, and we've got to admit it. We get it. As deflating as it was to watch preseason projections play out so consistently, there were arcs. You knew who to root against, which primetime games to circle months in advance, and when to truly take note of an up-and-comer. It might have been repetitive, but everything made sense. One team held the torch for a few years, and eventually the right replacement took it from them. Today, things aren't that straightforward. At the beginning of this year, Oklahoma City looked like a generational force ready to take the league by storm. Then their second option returned from injury, and they took a noticeable step back. In 2024, we thought Boston was on the cusp of their next decade of dominance. Instead, they followed up their title run with an uninspiring season that opened the door back up for the rest of the East. Every month, our outlook of the postseason is dramatically reshaped, and each year we have to come into the season with a relatively blank slate. That might make the games more intriguing, but in a way, it also makes those picturesque moments feel a little less grand. If the key outcomes really come down to a couple bad bounces here or a few lucky breaks there, then are we really honoring greatness? Or are we celebrating the champions that fate picked on that specific day? Yeah, dominance killed possibility, but it also squashed the need for interpretation. No one needed to dissect the intricate miracles behind the latest climb to the top. All that mattered was that one team was so great they couldn't be denied. It was the heroic simplicity we held onto in the stories of old legends and looked for in dramatic sports movies. Now everything's contextual. There are probably 4 teams in both conferences who could realistically make a run if they get the right matchups in the playoffs, and a handful of squads who could realistically get in the mix if they get hot towards the end of the season. It's a neck and neck race that always ends in a new kind of photo finish. That's exciting, but it isn't the gladiatorial greatness we're used to. After a couple years, that instability started blending together quicker than we realized. The framework that we understood the game through was obsolete, and even though that's what we wanted, once it was there, we kinda missed it. In the moment, no one wants to admit it, but if we're being honest, it's fun to cheer against the entrenched Goliaths. Think about how many friends you'd bond with over your mutual disdain of the Warriors when they were at the top of their game, or how quickly a basketball conversation could evolve from saying something as simple as "I'm tired of the Lakers." Sure, nowadays we have heated debates about whether or not the Thunder play ethical basketball, but that's not the same thing. No one was accusing the old dynasties of taking advantage of the rules. Wait, people were saying the Warriors' entire dynasty was built off illegal screens? Let's just move past that. We were just sick of watching them bulldoze the rest of the NBA, and those emotions shaped the season. Fans of the team sitting on the throne enjoyed the infamy that comes with the target on their back, and everyone else pinned their hopes to whichever challenger had the next shot at the reigning champs. The league was familiar, rigidly authoritarian, and easy to understand. There were heroes and villains, up-and-coming dark horses, and fading giants. Marquee matchups that felt like fresh entries and unexpected outcomes that shifted key paradigms, all because things stayed the same long enough for us to form collective conclusions. Now nothing's staying still long enough for us to agree on what we're seeing. We have a bunch of niche perceptions of where the league is. At the end of the year, we'll get some momentary answers before another offseason resets the board. And unless OKC is standing on that stage once again, we'll be looking at another subjective preseason picture that refuses to give us any clarity. Inevitability is a relic of the past, and on opening night, every possible outcome is back on the table. Some nights it's the Wild West excitement we always wanted, but some nights it's a shape-shifting Rorschach test we can't make any sense of. Everything comes with a cost. We'll be honest, emotionally, we don't know how to make any sense of this. Like we said earlier, we could remember what the end of the Dynasty era felt like. If we close our eyes, we can transport ourselves back to the days of loaded rosters and massive talent gaps. We haven't forgotten the numbness that accompanied the heart drops we knew we were in for, but fought back against anyways. And still, we feel the nostalgia too. There was something magical about knowing the guy was going to hit that shot. Something enchanting about the way the game would slow down when its brightest stars arrived at the moment we had been waiting on all season, even when we were biting our nails, hoping against reason that things might go any other way. Every once in a while, we wish the game felt exactly like it used to. Unfortunately, we know the truth. If it did, this video would have been named Why the League Needs Parity. This era isn't better or worse than the one before it. It's hardly even begun. Besides, the concept of ranking eras is so impossible, it makes our heads spin. Right now, we're all just feeling the sting of change, that little bit of sadness that shows up when the last autumn leaves drift away. But soon enough, those trees will be full. They'll have flowers in spring and foliage in the summer. We don't know what this next era has in store for us, and odds are it'll look a lot different in 5 years than it does now. But at the end of the day, it's still basketball, and that's enough for us. Time will do what it always does, and the leaves will be orange and red before we know it.